Greetings, this is Michael DeBishop, and welcome to this snapshot on pharmacists. This is part of Module 2 of the Medical College of Wisconsin School of Pharmacy, Wisconsin MPJE Review. In this snapshot, we'll talk about pharmacists, technicians, and students and their licensure, roles, and responsibilities. We'll start with pharmacists. So for original licensure, several things are needed for pharmacists to become licensed. They must, of course, graduate from an ACPE accredited school of pharmacy, submit proof of completion of internship, pass the NAPLEX and the Wisconsin version of the MPJE, and of course, submit an application and pay the required fee to the Department of Safety and Professional Services. For pharmacists who are transferring their license from another state over to Wisconsin, called reciprocity, the process is a bit different. First of all, an application to the Wisconsin board must be made. They must also submit the NABP Clearinghouse License Transfer Application, which transfers over NAPLEX and other board scores. They must pay a fee to apply. And then finally, they must pass the Wisconsin MPJE, demonstrating their knowledge and understanding of our Wisconsin state laws and regulations. This last requirement is waived for service members and their spouses. For renewal of licensure, the pharmacist licensure renewal is always on June 1 of even-numbered years, no matter when the original licensure occurred. So even if the original licensure occurred in an odd-numbered year or even May 1st of an even-numbered year, it must be renewed on June 1st of an even-numbered year. With every renewal, the pharmacist will have to demonstrate or affirm that they have completed 30 hours of continuing education. So it's 30 hours every 2 years. There are no other specifics related to continuing education. It can be live, it can be virtual. There are no specific topic requirements. And records must be kept for 3 years for audit purposes by the pharmacist. Important to know that this continuing education requirement is waived for that very first renewal. So for a first renewal, no continuing education needs to be done, but for every renewal afterwards, 30 hours every 2 years. So if a pharmacist lets their license expire or lapse, what has to happen? Well, it's a little bit complicated, and so let's walk through it. First of all, it's important to remember that the board always has the option for an expired license to suspend it and require an exam, usually the NAPLEX or MPJE. The board always has this option. It doesn't always mean that it enforces it. If the license is expired within the past 5 years, the pharmacist must just pay the renewal and late fee and demonstrate 30 hours of continuing education. And then the license is renewed. If it's been more than 5 years, then it gets a little more complicated. The pharmacist must pay a renewal and a late fee and pass the MPJE for licensure renewal. And in order to make sure that they are current in their license, in their pharmacy practice, if they have had 2,000 hours of practice or more in the last 2 years, so have them at least half-time pharmacist over the last 2 years. If so, then that's fine and they can renew their license. If a pharmacist has not practiced to this extent in the last 2 years, then we face another choice. If it's been only between 5 and 10 years, then the pharmacist must do 160 hours of internship per year that the license has been expired, up to a maximum of 1,000 years. And either 15 hours of continuing education per year that the license has elapsed, or passed the NAPLEX in the past 2 years. So the intent of this is to make sure that, again, that the pharmacist is current in pharmacy practice. If the license has been expired greater than 10 years, then it's 1,000 hours of internship and passing the NAPLEX, in addition to already passing the MPJE up top. So it's important to understand what an expired license means and what a pharmacist must do to renew that license. Okay, so we've covered pharmacist licensure. What are some of the pharmacist's roles that are included within our statutes and regulations? The most prominent of these is the managing pharmacist. And so this is the equivalent of a pharmacist in charge that is designated in some other states. If you look at various places in the statutes and regulations, it'll have a slightly different definition of managing pharmacist. However, in general, the managing pharmacist is the one that is responsible for all the professional operations of the pharmacy. They are in direct control, full and actual charge of the pharmacy and its personnel, and they are responsible for compliance of the pharmacy with all state and federal requirements. There are a few requirements and limitations around being a managing pharmacist. First of all, a pharmacist may be the managing pharmacist at no more than one community and one institutional pharmacy at a time. So a pharmacist can be managing pharmacist of 2 pharmacies if one is a community and one is an institutional. They could not be a managing pharmacist of 2 community pharmacies or 2 institutional pharmacies, for example. The managing pharmacist must also be engaged in practice at each location. They don't have to be full-time at each location, but they must be practicing at each location at some point. It's also important to remember that remote dispensing sites don't count versus these limits. Even though remote dispensing sites are now licensed as pharmacies, they don't count versus the 1 community and 1 institutional limit. If a managing pharmacist is also managing a remote dispensing site, they can supervise up to 10 of those for any managing pharmacist. If they supervise more than 5, they have to let the board know, but they can only supervise up to 10 remote dispensing sites. More on that in the remote dispensing site module later on. Any change in the managing pharmacist must be reported to the board within 5 days, so very short turnaround time for a change in managing pharmacist. And finally, if the managing pharmacist is going to be continuously absent for greater than 30 days, so extended vacation or illness or whatever it might be, another managing pharmacist must be legally delegated by a power of attorney to take the place of that managing pharmacist who is temporarily away. So under that time, this is not necessary, but for greater than 30 days, another person must be appointed managing pharmacist. Here are a few of the responsibilities of a managing pharmacist that are found throughout statutes and regulations. Things like signing the license application, training technicians and documenting the training for a tech, maintaining policies and procedures for various areas, visiting a remote dispensing site, assigning tasks and verifying competency of other pharmacy staff is the responsibility of the managing pharmacist. They have to also ensure security of the pharmacy, as well as that controlled substance inspections, maintenance, and reconciliations take place as scheduled and on time. It's important to note that there are duties reserved solely for pharmacists, and in this case, students and interns who are under their supervision. And these include any duty that involves professional or clinical judgment, interpretation, or application. And some of these include things like the final check for accuracy of the drug product and device that is dispensed, the drug utilization review that must be performed, the final label check for the dispensed prescription, patient counseling. So patient counseling can only be performed by a pharmacist or a student or intern under their supervision, as well as administration of non-vaccine injectable drug products. So all these are things that can only be performed by a pharmacist or supervised student or intern. And then finally, there is one category of activities that are pharmacists only and not students or interns, and these are the duties that are required of a managing pharmacist. So the signing forms, supervising other pharmacy professionals, steps that need to be taken to manage a pharmacy. For these things, only pharmacists are able to do these roles. This snapshot has covered licensure, roles, and responsibilities of pharmacists. It's been part of the MCW School of Pharmacy, Wisconsin MPJE Review Module 2. Please see our questions in the companion questions section for further practice. Thanks, and see you in another snapshot.